Hey guys, welcome to Trekyards Mission Briefing, your weekly dose of discussion. And this week, looking forward to this one. It's been fan requested for a long time now, and one we've been waiting for. Stuart, what are we doing today?
We're doing the Odyssey class, USS Enterprise 1701F from Star Trek Online.
From Star Trek Online. Now, this is a fun one because in 2010, and I went back and I checked my email for the original email, Cryptic, which is the studio behind Star Trek Online, started a design contest to design the official next canon, as in licensed, not on-screen canon, but licensed by CBS, the next Enterprise F. And in 2011, they picked a winner and a designer. We're going to talk about that today.
Yeah, and the designer's name was Adam Isle? It's I-L-H-E. I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm sorry. I apologize many times over. But great design, and let's take a look at it.
Yeah, so this first picture is the one that I remember seeing as it finally got announced. So I was watching this progress from the start, and some designs I wasn't as happy with. And I'm going to say, first of all, yeah, happy this design was picked. It's certainly interesting. But what was your first impression when this design was out there in the world?
I thought it was a great progression from the Sovereign class. I thought it was a nice next step. So yeah, I was very happy with it.
God, I like how we're just in agreement sometimes. Yeah, it's one of the strange things because Star Trek Online is such a different design aesthetic, but they wanted just that next step, and clearly they went for a very similar feel, and yet it's got those unique bits, notably the two-prong neck configuration, which you can't see in this picture very much, but also we'll see later on. But it is a nice design. I think it works really well, and I think we should get into some of the details. So shall we go into the next picture then?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. Well, the next one is the design concept drawing, which very much highlights those attachment points. I'm not sure if I'm on board with it, really.
Yeah, it's not as sleek here, which is fine. Yeah. It's one angle. It's a bold choice, I think, to pick this, but I think the way they came up with it, final design, and again, in 3D, it moving, I think really works. But what's interesting is when you see how he pictured the ship, you see it next to the Sovereign, and it is that next step, that next jump, because every Enterprise is bigger than the last. This is a true next step, and wow, is it bigger.
But speaking of silhouettes, that's not a great looking silhouette compared to the Enterprise E. I don't know. I don't like the way it's bulked out.
Well, the Enterprise E was a battleship, sleek, low surface area. This is also a sort of warship, but it's meant for bigger crew, more exploration. So you need to have that bigger volume, so it's less compact. I do agree with that, but it's certainly more compact than the D. The shapes are. It's just that regrowth of size of vessel after the E. I think that's how I take it. But yeah,
I see that. The warp engines aren't as sleek as I'd like either. They're kind of boxy just from the side.
They are.
That's just an early concept. So
yeah. But if we take the next photo, this is the final model next to the previous Enterprise. This is a great way to really start this episode, is to see, and straight away, I mean, it's.
Straight away, I see that the complaints I just had about the profile and the engines are corrected here.
Yeah, that is a nice sleek profile.
It is very nice, yes.
And again, it feels like the E, but just pulled in the right ways, if that makes sense. It's just a step above, just a bigger, but got its own feel, which I think is a very nice way of doing it.
Yeah, and you really see the similarities with the E on the front and or the fore and aft views. Very much the same looking ship, just kind of bulked out a little bit. The top and bottom views, the different shape of the saucer and stuff.
Yeah, the top, it looks very different. The top looks like some other ships we've looked at for Star Trek Online. It doesn't give it it doesn't do it as much justice. It looks much more bland from the top, I think.
It kind of pulls in that Voyager aesthetic, though. That shape of that. Just that shape looks very much Voyager-esque.
The top is a Rick design, whereas the other ones are a combo of John and stuff. Although if you look at the bottom design, straight away I see how huge that secondary hull connecting to the saucer is. I mean, that is a huge, chunky shape, which you don't really get a sense of in the other angles as much. What do you think?
I agree 100%.
Doesn't flow as well.
Yeah, and those attachment points, I don't know if I like that. I'd almost rather get rid of those.
Oh, but that's one of the charms, isn't it?
I guess. I wouldn't have gone with it personally as picking the next Enterprise, but
well, I'm
it's
excited.
a great looking ship. I just don't know if it's the next Enterprise, right?
Well, yeah. But I'm excited to speak to over the designer and to Cryptic about this and listen to their thought process as to why, because that is I'm not going to say radical step. I don't think it's radical. I just think it's an interesting choice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to the next picture, and this is a beautiful shot of it. Shows the sleekness of those nacelles.
Lovely nacelles, yeah.
Yeah, I love the way they taper off at the back. It's also an advancement on the impulse engines we see in the Enterprise Z. They're kind of smaller and set back in a little bit further.
Now, why do you think there's such an empty space? Do you think that's implying there's actually more thrust in a small package? They have to have that empty space to allow the matter to be pushed, in a sense, like more of a safe zone is needed because it's actually now having to generate more thrust because it's a much larger ship than the E, so maybe it needs that?
Possibly, but I think it's more of just a looks thing to make it look better. And if you note too, it's got impulse engines in the back of the struts as well.
Oh, nice. I've always liked that a little bit, like just simple ones, just to give it an extra bit of thrust. Yeah. And I noticed because the scaling for the ship is a bit odd, dimensionality wise, because everything feels in proportion. But then when you look at the aft shuttle bay, that door is huge.
It is huge, but so is the one on the back of the Enterprise D, to be fair, on the top of the saucer.
True. Yes, I think that's where it's going from. But it makes the ship feel smaller because like that's a big door. You don't tend to think of it. I mean, if you look at the bridge at the front, that's the bridge module. I mean, what's that, like 10, 11 times the width of the bridge?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got a smaller auxiliary craft as well, not just shuttles necessarily.
I'm fine with it as a design. It's just so it puts off the scale, I think. Like if that had been 2 doors split, that might have looked better because then your brain would have fitted it in better, I think.
Yeah, maybe. That's an interesting idea.
Small thing, like that's a minor detail. What do you think of how the angularity of the top of the saucer is, as in the bits that pull into the bridge module? Because in the E, that's quite a distinct look. This, I think, feels very similar. What do you think of how it all sort of has the ridges and things?
This is more sleeked out than the E is. The E is more defined, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
And I like the black highlight there as well.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of this.
As am
I like the integration of it, the sleekness of it. We say sleekness a lot. We know, we get it, guys. You don't have to say it every time in the comments.
Okay, it's very integrated. There you go. Yeah, integrated is a great word. It's one. This is one of those odd ships where it's all one hull. All the curves just blend in with each other. It's all very natural. I think it almost recaptures some of the organic feel that Andrew did with Enterprise D.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not saying that the E doesn't have it, but it's a much more thin and slicing smoothness. This is much more organic, if that makes sense.
I agree.
Okay.
And instead of saying sleek from now on, I'm going to say it's rad. That's rad.
Totally awesome.
Because my brother wanted me to. He wants to bring back rad as a term, so we're doing that right now, right here for my brother Steve.
Here, yes.
You owe me one, Steve. Anyway, next picture. So this is kind of a close-up of the underside of the saucer. Get to see, looks like there's a lot of escape pods, obviously.
Yep, a lot of windows, which give a good sense of scale. This many windows gives it more of a, not pleasure cruise, but like a big ocean liner feel, as if they want people to be able to look out and enjoy space. So I get the same feeling, like this is a long-range vessel that they want to give that nice, lots of quarters have windows, and that real, sense.
Yeah, it's going back to the Enterprise D luxury liner aesthetic, but tying in the Enterprise E as well. So it's like, it's not a battleship anymore per se. It's going more towards comfort again, and you can see that definitely with these kind of window configurations. I love the inner ring of windows on that, and like the face in on the center part there.
It's nice.
But those attachment points, there's 2 necks in this thing, maybe 3. There's one in the middle, I think there is. Can't really tell. But I think that's a bit of wasted space, personally. Like, fill that up, you can put in quite a few more quarters and things in there. Make it more of an integrated and yet rad look, I think might work.
Yeah, again, that is the bold stylistic choice of the ship. I think we need to know the background behind why. Obviously, it could just lead for easier source separation. Maybe source sep is a far more important and integrated feature that it's expecting source separate all the time. Therefore, having those simpler connection points actually lead it to be more straightforward. But we don't know.
That could be, yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is, I guess, a good time to talk about the deflector. Yeah, I mean, it's a good deflector. It fits the design profile and it works. I mean,
It's stepping back again to the D again. It's got that look.
Yes.
It's very,
yes,
very dissimilar to the E. The E was the smaller,
yes.
yellow, round.
Yes.
And this is going back to the longer.
Yes. And there's no physical dish part either, because we know the E did have a physical dish. This looks all digital.
Yeah.
And to the next picture, which I'm assuming is a fan design, but this is what we always love. This is the breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I see the humongous amount of shuttle storage, which I love. And they've got all different versions. They've got the Argo, they've got the Runabout. Right, wow, Runabout. They've got all the different versions. And clearly this is a designed as a support craft as well. And there's a normally placed shuttle bay at the back, which has all the smaller craft, like the Voyager shuttle and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they've obviously got the space to have auxiliary craft and the primary smaller shuttles, which makes a lot of sense.
So one of the first things I noticed right offhand that's very similar to the Sovereign, when you see the cutaway of the Sovereign, is the dual Bizarre collector in each engine or each nacelle.
Right.
Which is neat that there's now. I don't know how long they've been using two. I think the D incorporated two as well.
I think it did, yes.
So, I mean, nothing advancement wise there, I don't think, but I think it's a cool little feature just to point out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people might not have noticed that. So.
Yeah. Two more things I noticed. First, if you look at the deflector, we've looked at a lot of ships and a lot of breakdowns. Again, this is obviously fan, take that into account, but that is a very, very long deflector. Normally ships have it pretty much in the front bit. This is small, thin, and it goes halfway through the neck, which is very interesting. It could imply a very, very strong, very long-range deflector. Don't know. And it seems to connect directly to the computer core. There is a little yellow line, so maybe that's... I don't know. Maybe some new function there?
I don't know. That's an interesting point. Most of the other ships don't have two computer cores, and if they do, they're both in the saucer side by side.
Mm-hmm.
This one, how many does it have? Does it have three? Are there two in the saucer side by side there, and then a third one for the secondary hull, or is there two down there? I don't know. I don't know how many computer cores this thing has.
But with given
you guys know, let us know.
Given the size of each element, though, I'm assuming that means that each portion of the ship could be very self-sustainable, which is interesting. You just pointed that out. The second thing that I noticed originally was if you look at the secondary hull, the warp core is huge. That spans the entire length of the ship, which is what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 decks. That's a big warp core. Wow. Again, fan, sure, but that says 13 decks. And then if you look at the saucer, same colour as like a 7-deck long thing. Hasn't got the same components, but it's the same colour, and that feels like there might be two warp cores.
Same kind of structure to it. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Good call.
I mean, if this really gives us a scale when very few ships genuinely have runabouts as standard shuttles because they're just not the right size. They might have one that can dock and take most of the bay. This has it with a plethora of other space, so that shows its role in the fleet is pretty varied and pretty much, well, flagship. I think that's really this speaks to flagship. I'm trying to kind of impressed with. Again, fan, but this is an impressive ship so far.
All right, so let's move on to the next picture.
Okay.
Again, this one, when I looked at the thumbnail, I thought this ship was just coming out of warp or going into warp because it looks like the engines kind of stretch into infinity in this at first glance. But it's a very awesome, rad profile, very sleek looking. I'm going to use the word again, but it's very drawn out, and I really like that. This angle really accentuates that feature.
It's one of those things where you know when a ship works proportion wise. This is why the JJ prize annoys so many people, because the proportions just don't work. This is pushing it, but in all the right ways, and so it works. You can just tell aesthetically. You know, that's a hell of a curve on that bottom part of the secondary hull. I mean, that is a long curve, but it works. Yeah, it looks really good.
There's cool little features like fins on the back, on the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
which look really neat. I don't know what kind of purpose they serve, but they look cool.
I feel like somebody should dock there, or it's a lower or that might be the underside to a dual-sided shuttle bay, like reverse gravity, like Pegasus from BSG, so they can possibly.
I doubt it. But
Yeah, I doubt it. It's interesting though. But the next picture is a fan design variant, meshed by Vom51. Interesting name. Different. They've got more. Well, obviously got the accenting, the black and white accenting, far more less physical surface detail, but more clearly defined structural points. And the bridge module is a lot different as well, more Prometheus, with a circle and then something around it.
Yeah.
And what's your take on this?
I like it. I like that kind of look. It's going back to a sleeker, not sleeker, but smoother hull texture.
Right. Yep.
Which I actually kind of appreciate in Federation ships. So I kind of like the looks of this personally. It's not quite as busy as the other ones we've seen.
Yeah, this looks very similar to another Star Trek Online ship we've looked at in the past, or at least planned to. I don't like it as much though, because I don't think Starfleet has that dramatic level of black and white. Like, it looks off to me. It'd be fun to see it all with Aztec, you know, very classic. I agree it's pushing slightly more in that direction. If you take out the black and make it maybe a light grey with Aztec, and that might work better.
Or Robin's egg blue.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Let's move on to the next one.
Oh yeah,
that's another great orthos,
which shows you exactly how the neck works. If you look at the top couple, so that's interesting. If you look at the front shot, it's not that. It's kind of like that. Like, there's no space, which is interesting. So it means that the neck gets thicker as it goes back. And if you look at the back picture, then goes in theme pulse engines. That I hadn't noticed, which is weird. I've actually played this ship.
There is a space though there.
It's very minimal though.
It is minimal, but it is there, and I think that's kind of wasted. Like, there's no middle neck attachment at all.
Are you sure?
From that back view?
Well, I don't know.
That's like the dome underneath the.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm impressed now that it isn't a direct. It is angled. I think that works better now. But yeah, I mean, wasted space. But again, it's the design choice, isn't it?
Interesting thing too is the bottom of the nacelles. You never really see the Bazaar collectors from the bottom of the nacelles generally, unless they're sticking straight out the front of the engine. Yeah. This kind of looks kind of odd in a way with the way that they're showing up from the bottom. I don't know. That's my personal take on it, especially when you're comparing it to the E.
Well, a bigger ship needs more space matter to fuel it. I mean, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. So you've got, if you look at the front picture, you've got these two almost menacing eye parts that split in between, but at the bottom it's a complete facade. So it's a three-prong almost, which is, you could say, is an evolution, because why not have the bottom be a facade as well? It gives you that third more, or that half more.
True.
And if you look at the bottom of the bottom at the front, there's no discernible captain's yacht. There's no, E version. I can't see a distinct shape. I suppose there might be if you, given the fact that the deflector portion comes out so far, there might be some other stuff at the back which could come out, but I can't see a distinct captain's yacht.
Yeah, I can't either.
So that's a pullback in terms of design. In terms of weapons, this ship seems pretty minimally armed, considering. I see obviously the standard phaser strip on each of the two sides. There isn't one on the front. There's nothing on the nacelle. Oh, there is. Okay, there is two at the back of the nacelles. There's nothing on the neck as far as I can see, or two necks. There's same on the bottom of the saucer, and there's two either side of the escape pods at the bottom, which is nice. Nice to see that being two. And I think there's two at the back.
I think there's two.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to tell. They're not strong enough lit, but it seems underarmed.
Yes and no. I mean, when you compare it to the Galaxy, it's pretty much the same kind of phaser arrangement.
That said, look at the front. Where are the torpedo launchers? There's no. I mean, obviously, the E didn't have them per se, but obviously that's a trope of Federation designs. Do you see any visible torpedo launchers? there might be one underneath the bottom of the secondary hull. That little door, there might be several tubes, but I can't see any that
Yeah, I
scream
can't see
out.
anything visible, but there might be. There's two
Well, there should be.
there's two things above the deflector which could possibly be, but they
Yeah.
don't. They're not glowing red. They don't look like a typical torpedo launcher arrangement. So who knows? So let's go on to the next picture. This is well, there you go. You got your blue instead of your black. You got your Federation blue, which kind of looks. I don't know if it looks better per se. I kind of like the black personally.
Looks like a medical ship.
Yeah, I guess.
That sort of color scheme.
It's like the JJ prize. It's very clinical.
Yeah.
With the white and blue, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think it works as well. Although now this shot certainly shows that the bottom sensor dome, if it is a sensor dome, is now this massive white light. What do you think that is? Because
I don't know. I've noticed that in all the pictures. It's very bright. It's very bright in every one of the pictures we've looked at. Like to the point where it's too bright.
Yeah.
In every one, I don't understand whether that means something or.
It might just be the glow setting is like 10% off or something. I don't know.
But it's on everybody's renders. Everything we've looked at so far has this extremely bright light. If you go back and look.
Interesting.
Maybe it's powered by a white dwarf star.
Quite possibly.
I don't know.
Onto the next picture is interesting. This is the source separation, and that is not how I thought it separated.
It's kind of how I thought it separated looking from the underside. I wondered about that.
Yes.
And now that I've seen it, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's very much the E separation lines. Yeah. So why is there a neck then? Why is there a dual neck? Because if that made perfect sense to split off, but it doesn't.
Just to look cool, probably.
Just to look cool, probably, yeah. That does kind of look badass, though. If you refined that top of the secondary saucer, as it were, that would kind of look like a cool ship. A very pointed bridge version, a pointed saucer version. There you go. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot like the Prometheus when it splits. The bottom part looks really cool, and if you just would have made that saucer section a little bit bigger, it would look really nice.
Do you think the ship would look cool if you gave it 2 more nacelles and the same vibe as that version, just reversed, or I guess turned upside down? Think it look cool with 4?
Yeah, I think it would. I think it would look really cool.
Onto the next picture again, fan mesh, and you're right. I mean, that bottom dome is pretty damn bright. It's against the grey version. I like it. There's something different about the secondary hull. It feels like right at the back, how it tapers feels different in this one. Feels more smushed.
Yeah, I see that.
But
it really accentuates those fins though at the bottom that we saw. I think that's why. I think it's probably got the same curve, but those fins kind of make it look flatter. I don't know. That's my opinion.
That back in the top picture feels much more like the Excelsior. Have that very flat bit.
That's what I thought, but I was reluctant to say it. But you're right.
So this is kind of like the Excelsior version, which it feels like the thinner brother. Like you got the fat Odyssey and you got the thinner Odyssey, the one after 10 months of weightlifting and I don't know.
So on this one, that rear part where the shuttle bay is looks very interesting. It looks almost like a deflector instead of a shuttle bay entrance. Looks like a cave kind of entrance. Very shielded, protected. I don't know what you think about that.
It's more Titan-like.
It is, yes. It's more protected than the Titans, though, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to rotate this right now. I want to rotate the picture so I can take a better look.
Well, maybe. No, we can't do this. No, we can't do it. Yeah. I like that black accenting them more when you see it go all the way into the shuttle bay. It's very. I think this would look great if you had the Mirror Universe yellow at the front. This would be a badass looking ship. Like that would feel right. Like that clinical and then boom color.
Yeah.
And then make the Bassards red as well, just for even more dramatic effect.
Like a bright red, yeah.
And so the next one is a fun one, as we all know, Star Trek Online, that you can add components, Borg and Jem'Hadar and stuff. So this is the Borgified version.
Which always looks cool, but looks kind of diseased almost.
Oh,
like
it does.
Leprosy.
Yeah.
Little blotches on it.
Yeah. I do like the nacelles, though, with now blue and green, like the green's infecting it, and there's sort of armor as well. I mean, it's... Yeah.
Very interesting, for sure.
yeah, I wouldn't want this big powerful ship infected, because then they'll go back in time and defeat the Phoenix, and they've got the E there, and they can't even make match for it. Yeah, I mean, first contact would be a lot different if it went back in time again with this ship. Wouldn't go well. Would not go well.
No. All right, so we end with the first picture, and this was the first shot we saw of it, as publicity-wise, and again, a very bright lower dome there. Anyway. Great ship, and I think it adds nicely to the Enterprise lineage.
Mm-hmm.
A few things I probably would have done differently had I been given the opportunity, but overall I can't complain.
Yeah. I think the Enterprise is such a valued ship, and the legacy is such an important thing, and while each designer might have been limited in the sense that, John Eves, they had to use Excelsior to model, like, sometimes there might be, and the ambassador was not the ambassador originally intended. So some of the enterprises that have been given aren't necessarily the ideal enterprise, but they are part of our history. And so it's interesting to see what the next step, what someone envisioned. And I think it does fit. It's an interesting combination of the Star Trek Online universe, but to the right degree with the E, but an evolution. I like it works. Now, I don't think I necessarily would want to see it as the next one in a show. I don't know why. Like, I can't put my finger on why, but that might just be because it hasn't got that John Eves, or it hasn't got that Rick Sternbach, or it hasn't got that, like, there's always something about the ending design, that makes it work. But I think it should absolutely exist in canon. I think this should be, it's like the Excalibur class, that huge bulking vessel. It should absolutely exist as a ship, no doubt. 5 years after Nemesis, absolutely.
Well, this is considered canon, is it not?
Well, it's considered canon for CBS in terms of their other library, when the ship, like, it won't be the ship we see in any TV show, because that's show canon, but it's an official, or the official Enterprise F, until it gets changed. But I think it was a good choice. I love how they improved the original sketch. Like, they took it and they made it sleeker and nicer. Sorry, sleek. I really like that. Yeah, the original line was so good, and I really want to talk to the designer now and really see the thought process behind it. And I hope that Cryptic worked with him to actually develop his concept into the details, because it's always about the little details. Where do you put this? Where do you put that? And I'm we haven't actually asked. Have you got this ship, and have you used this ship in Star Trek Online ever?
No and no.
Really? Oh, I have 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was very thrilled when it came out as an anniversary event, because everyone got them free for one day, and now I think they're paid. And so I was like, both characters I could get them, I got them. And the mission's fun. The bridge is a bit. We didn't do the bridge, unfortunately, for this episode, but on a later date we will. It's a weird one. But yeah, flew it. Really pretty ship to fly. Really powerful. It can take a lot of punishment. It fires a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
Very slow. I like cruisers in Star Trek Online. I like having the shield power and broadsiding with all phases, firing aft and forward phase at the same time. I like that. So it was a sort of ship for me, but it's very slow. But I mean, it's a very big ship, so it was fun to play with, and one I can actually get footage of for next time. But yeah, any closing thoughts on the Odyssey? A much requested ship, and we finally got to it.
I just have to say it's a nice ship and it's very rad. And I want you, Samuel, to say that it's rad too.
Dude, it's rad.
Is it radical or is it just rad?
It's both and more.
Awesome.
Right, that is it.
Rad. I want it to be a thing now. Do it.
Every fan, post rad. Your favourite comment about the ship, and then rad. Please do it. Anyway, that is it for the USS Enterprise NC-1701F. We're notching the Enterprises off. I hope you guys enjoy this, our look at it. And obviously, we this is our first big look at all the pictures. We haven't looked at all the details, because that's not what the show's about, but we're very excited when we do the full episode, because we're going to really get into it, and we have some fun stuff up and coming. And if you'll want to design the ship and you're watching this episode, thank you for great design. So until next time, guys, this is Commander Kongs
and Captain Foley.
See you next time.